How you doing today, man?
Good. Good.
All right, big dog. State your name for me.
My name is John Meno.
Yeah, man. When were you born?
October 27, 1991.
Where were you born?
In Guam.
In Guam? What part?
Tamuning, Guam.
Are you born in Tumi?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
GMH.
Oh, your shucks. All right, shucks, man. And so obviously your parents are from Guam as well?
Yep.
So tell me about your childhood when you were from Guam. What was that like?
So I grew up in Guam. It was good. I guess a normal islander childhood. You know, just going to school, hanging out with the grandparents and my cousins on the weekend. Pretty standard stuff.
You grew up with your grandparents?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Not with them, but I would see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never lived with them. Well, I did when I got older, but yeah, I grew up around them all the time.
How was, I guess, the family dynamic on Guam?
Yeah, you know, I think Guam being a small island, the family, even like, I guess you would call that outside the immediate family, is really important. So a lot, at least people I knew, they always hung out with their grandparents, cousins. Even, actually, I hung out with a lot of my great-grandparents too. I got a chance to meet them and stuff. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. Tell me this, how has, this being 2023, how has Guam changed since you were a child, if at all?
Dang, that's a good question. How has it changed? Obviously, you know, more buildings and stuff like that. Technology has changed, but life has definitely gotten faster, you know. Before, things were a little bit more simple.
Tell me some of your fond memories from childhood. What do you remember?
Damn, that's a good one. Actually, one of the really funny memories is when I was a kid, we used to go to church every Sunday, and after Sunday, we would go to eat, right? It's like our thing after church, me and the family. We would always go to Top of the Mar. Okay. Top of the Mar used to have a good brunch, so we'd go there and it was cheap too. There's like a little binoculars you can look down to Petey bomb holes. We used to always look at that. Honestly, yeah, just hanging out with the family. You know, there was no cell phones back then, so just hanging out with my parents. Yeah, pretty much my family.
How big's your family? Obviously you, your mom and dad, who else?
Yeah, I got 2 sisters, my mom and dad. My dad has 8 brothers and sisters, my mom has 5.
All still on Guam?
No. Most of them, yeah, 99% of them. The only one is my dad's brother who lives in San Francisco.
Okay.
So everybody's here. They all have kids, so I grew up with a lot of cousins.
Can you put into words what it's like growing up with, I guess, all that family? Because I grew up kind of secluded, not having my family around.
It's good. It's cool because there's always someone to play with, you know. Kind of like the routine of the weekend for my family was on Saturday we go see my grandparents in Malolo, in Arahan. Then right after we go straight down to Maritzo, hang out. That'd be just the weekend and, you know, see everybody. It's the same thing over again. Kind of like re-catching up with what everyone did in the week and then recharging for the week again, you know.
I got you.
Yeah.
You talking about going to church, man. Guam is Catholic, I don't know, influence or
mostly Roman Catholic for sure.
And I don't know if you can put this into words, but you know, I guess what type of effect do you think that Roman Catholic influence has on Guam, if anything?
I think that a lot of people from Guam are definitely more conservative, just because of the Catholicism.
Mm-hmm. You used to live in California, right?
Yeah.
Can you compare California to Guam at all?
It's definitely different, you know.
Guam. Can you put that into words?
It's weird. California, specifically San Diego, it's very laid back, right? It's not like Los Angeles or San Francisco, stuff like that. But even though San Diego is really laid back, Guam is even more laid back, and it's a tighter community, you know. In San Diego, there definitely was a sense of community, and you didn't get that city vibe, but yeah, you know, you still go out there and it's still a big area, but Guam is even more, you know, it's definitely tighter. It's easier for you to see people, you know, people on the side of the road who are broken down, people are more inclined to stop and help them, stuff like that.
I was born in America, and you know, America is very, they call it a melting pot, different ethnicities, different nationalities, man. How do you think, because you lived in America, living on Guam, especially in the early 90s, where it was definitely more so a lot more Chamorro people, what do you think it's like living in a place where it has, I guess, one true ethnicity?
Here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like here, how do you think that affects relationships with people outside of your family, as compared to America, where you might not have a connection to someone else? Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Like, what do you mean?
Everyone here is Chamorro, so if you all have that common bond between you with each other.
Yeah.
In America, it's not really like that.
Yeah,
We're all
yeah.
American, but still, you know, we all have our own ethnicities or beliefs or religious backgrounds.
Yep.
Can you put that in words? Like, you know, what is that like living on Guam, where everyone has that common bond?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I find it's in the military too. Like when you see someone from Guam, it's easy to spot them with their tattoos or by the way they talk, right? Automatically you're like, whoa, we're kind of cool already, you know? But with other people, whether they're from wherever in the States or something like that, you know, you got to kind of feel them out to see if they kind of jive with you. But I think, yeah, it's weird, man. Some people from Guam, there's a lot of different ethnicities here. Even when I was growing up, Filipino, Melanesian, Micronesian, but you know, we have that common bond of being from the island and growing up relatively in the same kind of lifestyle, you know. So it was pretty easy to get along with people, you know, I guess. But in the States, I mean, that's just me personally, but I'm a pretty social person. I get along with most people. So I never really had an issue with it, but I definitely see what you're saying now, Dave. It's interesting because, like I said, we kind of grow up in the same culture. We all eat the same food. Like if you go to the States, right? Predominantly white cultures. They're not really maybe they are, but they're really not eating the same thing as Latino cultures or black families or, you know, Jewish families or shit like that. But Guam, everybody's eating usually same food, so we have that common connection. I don't know why. Maybe here is different, but yeah.
Who do you think has had a strong influence on Guam? Meaning, I guess, you think America's had the biggest influence, or maybe Japan or the Philippines or Micronesia?
Well, first of all, Spanish for sure.
Okay. Why do you say that for people who may not know?
Well, because of when what was his name, Magellan? When Magellan came to Guam back, was it maybe the 1600s? He had a big influence on Guam, and then yeah, I think it's mostly from that. And then obviously America, when Guam was liberated, started World War II, definitely had a big influence on Guam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guam was conquered by the Spanish, I believe, and then I guess another point, Japan took over.
Yep.
Did some very bad
Japanese
things.
occupation. Yep.
Yeah, did some very bad things. And I don't know the word is probably you were liberated by America.
Yep.
Okay. We just celebrated Liberation Day, correct?
Yep.
If you could put into words the Chamorro experience, what would you, just a random question, what would you say about that? What is the Chamorro experience?
Chamorro experience. Dang, that's interesting. Well, there's like this saying that I always thought about when I was a kid. Since I was a kid, it's called an Afamalik, right? An Afamalik is, to me, is kind of like the motto of like Chamorro lifestyle, where, and I might not get this 100% correct, but it's essentially like helping each other, you know, if we need something, so that in the case you need something, someone's gonna help you. So, you know, back in the day, in the ancient Chamorros, obviously it was money, but we would live off each other, live off the land, and then help each other, you know. So if you needed fish and I had fish, I give you fish. If I needed rice, you had rice, you give me rice, you know. So I mean, that's basically the root of it all when it comes down to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you see people doing it nowadays, you know, still too. But yeah, pretty much.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I went through phases. When I was really little, my cousins had dirt bikes, and I was like, "Oh, I want to be a motorcycle racer." Ever since I was a little kid, I maybe elementary. That was probably the first thing I remember wanting to be. And I always told my dad, "Dad, I want to be a racer, like a motocross racer." And he always used to mess with me. He'd be like, "What, an eraser?" I was like, "No, I want to be a racer." My dad never bought me a motorcycle, but yeah, that dream kind of fell apart real quick. And then the next thing I wanted to be was what else? a soccer player. I got really into soccer when I was like middle school, from 6th grade all the way till. I still like soccer, but yeah, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. My wife always says like I'm a jack of all trades, but now really I just do jiu-jitsu.
And so when did you start jiu-jitsu?
I started when I was 14.
What got you into it?
What got me into it? I don't really know exactly how I learned about it. I think it was at school and I heard people talking about it. And then there was a video store down the street from my house. We always used to rent videos. And just like every other person, I saw UFC 1 and 2 on the shelf. I was like, oh, let me check this out. I borrowed it. And I think maybe at the time too, my dad had to borrow it from me because kids couldn't rent that shit. But I rented it. I was like, whoa, this is cool. They're fighting, you know? It's different from boxing. I always knew boxing because my grandpa was a big boxing fan, but it's totally different. And then I started watching those. By a month or two, I'd watched everything. They had all the prides, all the every UFC that was out to that time. I rented it all and watched it. And then back in the day, they didn't really have social media, so it was hard for you to find out where they were doing jiu-jitsu in Guam. And remember classified ads in the newspaper? For some reason, I used to read the comics and the horoscopes and shit like that, and then I'll look at the classifieds for no reason. But then I just saw like martial arts or something. Like I would always look like, where's the next martial arts thing, like boxing, or I'll be like, one day I'm gonna go. And I didn't drive, so like I couldn't drive myself. But yeah, that's pretty much what got me into it. Oh, and actually, one of my friends, he started training. His name is Miguel Zuzu. And my dad was a teacher at the school where we went to school. So after class, we'd go into his classroom and move the desk. And we do a little rolling on the ground just for like super low level stuff. But yeah.
What was what was your first proper school or
my first proper school was a gym that's not together anymore. It was called Underworld Extreme. It was in Sinajana.
How old were you then?
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so who was your first instructor?
This guy, his name was Marcus Oliveira. He's a black belt who now lives in Abu Dhabi and coaches there. My godbrother Nick, who's my classmate at the time, he trained there already, and I knew him from school. We were good friends already. And I was like, whoa, dude, you're training jiu-jitsu? He's like, yeah, let's go. And I was like, man, my parents won't let me train, dude. You know, this kind of, back then, people didn't know about it, so it was like, oh, that's like fighting. My parents didn't want me fighting. So he lived 2 villages away from the gym at the time. And he's like, dude, just come to my house and we'll go. I was like, shoot, let's go. So I went to his house. I would go to his house all the time anyways. We went to his house and then we ran to the gym from his house. I was like, oh, Mom, I'm just gonna hang out at Nick's house. Went to his house and we ran there. And I went there during the class, we trained, and I was like, whoa, this is sick. I never left.
Tell me about that first year training, if you can remember. What was that like for you?
Man, it was crazy because in athletics, right? Like I said, I was already playing soccer for a few years at that point. I was like really obsessed. And then I saw jiu-jitsu. And on Guam at that time, jiu-jitsu was really grassroots level. So there wasn't the highest technique and all that stuff, you know. But it was good, man. The places that I went, just dudes who wanted to train hard and, you know, no bling. It was grassroots stuff, you know. Just get in there, train, try to learn stuff, whatever. But it was awesome, man. And this was the time when YouTube was first coming out. So it's not as if you can go online and search up all the newest, latest techniques from the mainland or Brazil, stuff like that. Back then, actually, the way you would learn or find out information, because they weren't posting matches on YouTube, was, you know, each month, like let's say like Sports Illustrated, each month it comes out, right? It has results from each month. You'd have to wait till the next month to find out what happened from last month's tournaments, you know, first, second. That's how you would read the results. But man, the first year was awesome. Yeah, literally my first day, I remember going there and I was like, whoa, I'm not gonna leave anymore. I'm gonna be here every day. And my first day, I remember 2 months later, I was like, I'll compete. I did my first competition 2 months after I first started training. I didn't win, but I was down to do it, you know. And I didn't even know anything about the points, about anything in the competition, but I just knew it was kind of cool. And it's what I wanted to do.
How big was your school meeting as far as members?
At that time, that academy was like really, really strong. So we had, I don't know, maybe 30 people.
Okay.
Yeah. At that time, that was we were one of the more, I'd say, powerhouse academies for sure. But that academy was mainly made up of MMA fighters at the time, who actually all did jiu-jitsu, so they were good in competing and stuff. But yeah.
As far as sports go, I guess what is the most popular sports on Guam?
Jiu-jitsu is actually getting up there now. I think, you know, it's getting more popular, especially the kids. But shoot, now maybe basketball or football used to be really popular in Guam. I don't know about it anymore. Baseball was really popular too. But jiu-jitsu, man, is definitely getting up there for sure.
Do you know why? You know.
I have no idea. I don't know what it is. You know, kids just like it. Well, first of all, I think parents really like getting their kids involved because it gets their kids disciplined, you know, and they get to learn some sort of self-defense. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just addictive.
Talk to me about the poverty on Guam. Is it, and how has that changed?
I think before, at least, you know, I come from a middle class family. My parents both worked growing up, but I think before, everybody's middle class, right? Majority of Guam, at least I can only talk for Guam. Majority of Guam was middle class, and you know, when I was growing up, there was no poverty. Like, I feel like there was no poverty on Guam. True poverty. Homeless people. I feel like when I was little, I remember there being, I think, one homeless person. I would literally see one homeless person. And now, man, it seems like it's out of control, you know? I don't know what it is, whether it's drugs or, you know, just life that people are becoming homeless, and or maybe it has to do with mental health, I don't know. But I definitely see it more. And maybe nowadays, I think there has to be some truth to this. Back in the day, there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle, you know, and you're just not hearing about that stuff before, you know, that people are, you know, getting kicked out of their houses, or, you know, they're not able to eat. I think it has something to do with it. But definitely, I think the amount of homeless people in Guam has skyrocketed. Maybe it's more people coming to Guam or something like that. But yeah, man, back in the day, like, remember we were talking about Enough from Malik, where if you need help, I'm gonna help you out. I think it's still true to Guam. A lot of people do that, but man, nowadays it's maybe just becoming a little bit more dog eat dog, you know. But yeah, before I feel like there was not as much poverty. Maybe I'm kind of ignorant to that because, like I said, you don't really see it, which I know there was, because a lot of my classmates back in the day, I remember them, you know, just people, you could tell people at school, you know, maybe they look like they're wearing the same clothes from last year or stuff like that, but maybe it is worse, maybe it is better now, I don't know. I think maybe there is definitely more assistance nowadays. I'd like to hope so, but yeah, I think it definitely has changed.
I want to talk to you about the military's influence on Guam. Have you always been aware of the military's presence on Guam? Meaning, you know, since you were a child?
Yeah, I think so. Because my dad, ever since I was born, well, before I was born, my dad was in Air Force. So I knew about it.
How long did he serve?
My dad did over 20 years reserve, yeah.
Okay, reserve, okay,
Yeah.
okay. How open-ended question, how has the military influence Guam? Bad, good, however you want to answer that.
I think it's good. Yeah, you know, definitely they helped with the Japanese occupation, you know, helped to get Guam liberated. So that was awesome. They definitely brought a lot of infrastructure to Guam. I wonder what it would be like without that liberation, you know. Imagine, I'm assuming something would have happened with the Japanese, or I don't know. But yeah, I think it's good. You know, a lot of people talk like, oh, let's get the military out of Guam and all this stuff. And a lot of, like, I wouldn't, for lack of a better term, radical, you know, Chamorro activists. They're like, let's get Guam to be a independent nation and stuff like that. And I just don't see it being able to sustain a lifestyle that we're used to now on its own, honestly. It's kind of sad, but it's true, you know? And people who are born on Guam, including myself, you know, we're already very, I feel like lucky to be able to be an American, you know, and American Chamorro, you know. But yeah, I think it's good, man. With you being born on Guam, already automatically having U.S. citizenship, it affords you a lot of benefits, you know, that people don't have in the world.
And I think, I mean, this could be an improper comparison, but I think, could we compare maybe FSM, Federal States of Micronesia, to maybe what it would be like if you did not have that American influence? I would like
to hope a little bit better, because those people are, though, you know, sometimes the way they live, like Chuk, Palau, those are awesome places, but if you go there, you're gonna be like, wow, this is not like America.
That's extreme poverty, real poverty down there?
It could be. I haven't been there in a long time, but you know, it's definitely not third world, but like, you know, they don't have like the nice, the luxuries of being in America. You know, the malls, the nice roads, all that stuff. Maybe nowadays they do, but it's definitely different. So, yeah, it could be like those places, you know.
What made you want to join the military?
Damn, that's a good question. So, what made me join the military was, you know, like I said, my dad was always military since before I was born. And I grew up going to base, knowing about the military. My dad would deploy, going to base and stuff like that. So I was always, most of my family, a lot of them were in the military. But for some reason I was like, nah, I never want to really join the military. It's just not for me, you know? And I just never really wanted to do it because I wanted to be a racer, you know? But the catalyst to make me join was really having my daughter, man, in 2016. When I was living with my wife in California at the time, things were just getting really tough, man, once we had my daughter. And I mean, I was making pretty decent money for living in San Diego, which is an expensive city, you know, in the US. But I just didn't really, at the time, I didn't really see myself progressing forward to get to where I wanted to be, you know. And automatically, once my wife found out she was pregnant, I was like, man, I gotta do something, bro. It's not about me now, you know. And literally, when she found out, I went to the recruiter like that week. I was like, babe, I'm gonna go. As soon as I can go, I'll go. And you know, because I think at that time, man, it was kind of, you know, I asked my wife, it was a tough time for us. We had an expensive apartment. We worked both essentially full time. I had like almost 3 jobs at that time. And it was super hard to make ends meet, bro. We would always have to sell stuff to like fucking make rent, or have to ask our parents or grandparents for like, hey, can we have some money? Because we can't pay our rent and shit. And you know, just the hustle. And I said, man, I can't do this, bro. I need to do something. So like I said, I went to the recruiter. I said, hey, how fast can I leave? And you know, as you know, you can't leave next week. You know what I mean? So I just kept holding out, hanging on until I'm able to ship out. And I was like, hey, I'll go.
What branch did you decide upon?
Coast Guard.
And
it's kind of weird because, you know, you don't really hear about the Coast Guard. Even you from Virginia, right? You're not everyone's like, oh, join the Coast Guard. You always see Army, Air Force, all the big branches. But the way I heard about the Coast Guard was, actually one of my friends, his name is Rob Rivera. He was a former Coastie, stationed in California. Then he got medically discharged and ended up staying there. He always talked about the Coast Guard, but he didn't really have the best experience, I guess. So I would always hear about it from him. He would talk about it. And then one of my other friends, who's a black belt now in San Diego, his name is Sean Estacchio. He's a Navy diver. He's a chief, retired now. He was stationed there, and I would always hang out with him because he's from Guam, you know. So when I would hang out with him, once I found out Melissa was pregnant, he said, "Hey, what are you gonna be doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, you should think about joining the military." I was like, "Oh, for real?" He's like, "Yeah, you should join the Coast Guard." And I don't even know why he said that, you know, because he's a Navy guy. I would think he'd be pro Navy, but he's like, "Yeah, dude, you should join the Coast Guard. I don't think it's that bad." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should." So then I fucking went, dude, to the recruiter. Yeah. I just went to Coast Guard and they were like, "Well, yeah, I guess we'll take you." I was like, "Shoot, let's go." But the process started long before I shipped out because it took a while. I had to do a lot of paperwork and stuff like that.
MEPS and all that.
Yeah, and so it was quite a long process for me to get in there. A lot of waivers and stuff like that.
How long do you think it was?
Dude, I don't remember. That's what I'm trying to remember now that you say that. Because my girl was born in 16 and I shipped out in 18 to boot camp. So.
Okay, I didn't know. I would join before you then.
Yeah.
I got to my first duty station in October. That was 2017, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure.
I think mine was March or something like that. March, April 18.
Talk to me about boot camp. What was that like? And where's boot camp at?
Boot camp for Coast Guard is in Cape May, New Jersey. It was good, man. You know, me and you, we joined a little bit later in life. I was 25, 26, something like that at the time. And I mean, you know, you see all the videos and shit. You're trying to prep yourself for this stuff, but you really can't be ready for that. And I was fully expecting to get screamed in the face, so I was ready for that shit, you know. I mean, it's not easy, man. You know, people. I don't know what the other branches are like, other than what videos I've seen, so I couldn't say. But yeah, it's not easy physically, mentally. You know, it's all exhausting. I think it's designed that way. But I thought it was a good experience. When I went there, I was like, it was easy for me to turn off. Like, once I went there, remember I was talking about how I had a lot of burdens on me to take care of my family and stuff like that. Once I went there, all that was gone. Because they're like, "Oh, we'll take care of your family when you're gone," all this shit. I was like, okay, shoot, I'm squared away on that side. And then I was totally able to focus on boot camp, and I kind of treated it like a game because, like me and you, we're a little older, you know. Most of the people, I was probably one of the oldest guys in my company. There's one guy who's a former Navy cook who went Coast Guard. He was like maybe 2 years older than me, but most of the guys were 18, 19, 20. So I think I kind of had that maturity edge on everybody, or I kind of knew this is. Not to take it personally, you know. So it wasn't insanely tough. Right away, I got with the program, and I think the young people nowadays, they're kind of hard to. It's kind of hard for them to get on board with like, "Oh, this guy's screaming at me," you know. He's telling me what to do, all this stuff. They're not used to that. And I had already worked multiple jobs in the real world, and I knew, like I said, this is all a game. You gotta play the game, do the push-ups, say the things they want you to say, do the stupid tasks and shit like that. But yeah, literally, I took it like a game, just a day at a time. And I remember, I think I told you this before, like when I went there, I wanted to like really use like a workout. So everything, push-ups, sit-ups, all that, so I was trying to max it out, just keep on going. And I got in badass shape. So yeah, I think it was good for me.
I think for you, it's different for people because you had we'll call it your why, like why you joined. And I imagine a big influence was your family, right?
Yeah.
I think that was a big propeller for you,
Yep,
a big push.
Yep.
So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, now that you say that, for sure.
Talk to me about this may be a weird comparison, but how do you think? You said you joined at 25, 26. How do you think your years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do you think that prepared you at all? Mentally, physically, do you think that had any influence on how you came into boot camp or how you joined the military?
I don't know, maybe, but you know, done a lot of physical activities, so push-ups, sit-ups, what else? Burpees. It's not that difficult, you know. The discipline part, you know, having people tell you what to do, I guess, not that difficult either, because you know, in class, people are telling you what to do all the time, and you just do, you just, you know. But no, yeah, maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
I understand.
Yeah.
If you for someone out there who maybe thinking about joining the Coast Guard specifically, and they're unsure about boot camp, what advice, what words of wisdom can you give them in preparation?
Like I said, it's totally a game. You know that.
So some people say a game, some people say an interview. What do you think?
Interview?
Coast Guard's interviewing you to see if you're qualified.
Yeah, I guess I never heard that. I think it's a game, dude. To see if you're willing to conform to that. To see. I guess so. Yeah, an interview. To see if you can to conform to the mold they need, like a basic standard coastie. But my advice to people, try to go in there in shape. Be ripped. My thing was when I went there, mentally, I had been out of school for maybe 10 years or almost like that. And it was a little bit harder for me because I'm just kind of like not the fastest person at memorizing stuff. So it was a little bit harder for me for the required knowledge. People don't think, man. Coast Guard boot camp, there's a lot of required knowledge you gotta know. And they're asking you right away. Once boot camp starts, you're in it, bro. You're gonna have to be required to regurgitate all that stuff fast. And I wasn't that guy, dude. Yeah, so I would say try to sharpen your brain most of all, Physically, I didn't really have that much of an issue, but yeah, I would say try to sharpen up your brain there, and just, be ready for people to scream at you as to what it is, Embrace the suck, and it'll end. It's only 8 weeks,
It's only 8 weeks.
But what they say is that boot camp it technically doesn't get easier towards the end. You kind of just get better at playing that game, So, yeah. The faster you can conform, the easier it's going to be. Yeah.
So, graduate boot camp. I know it was a good experience, great experience for you. Where did you get sent after boot camp?
After boot camp, I went to La Push, Washington, which was a surf station, motor lifeboat station.
And how was that living? So, real quick, you grew up in Guam. You moved to San Diego at some point?
Yep.
So you at this point only lived in Guam and San Diego?
Yeah.
And so what is it like moving to La Push, Washington?
La Push.
La Push.
Yeah. It was cool, man. I'd never been to the Northwest until that point. And remember when they take out your teeth in boot camp? I went to go get my teeth taken out. This was like, for some reason I did it later in boot camp. And at that point we already knew where we were going to go. So there was like a big map in there. I don't know if you remember that, like a big chart of the whole U.S. And I knew I was going to La Push. I was like, where the heck is La Push? Everyone knows Seattle, right? So I looked at the map and there's like a little dot on the corner, top left, kind of near the border of Canada. It says La Push, Washington. I was like, oh shoot, I'm going there, guys. Check this out. I didn't know anything about it. Come to find out, this is where like Twilight and stuff like that was shot or whatever. But I thought it was cool. At that time I was really big into photography. I really like nature and stuff like that, and this is like the perfect place. The only thing was it's really isolated. But other than that, I thought it was a good experience. Going to Washington is completely opposite of Guam, completely opposite of San Diego, but nothing bad. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. So
you go to La Push, you got your family with you and everything, man. You're a non-rate, correct? What was that non-rate experience like? And explain what a non-rate is.
So a non-rate is basically a person who, after going to boot camp, goes to a station, a boat, or a base or something like that, and they're kind of just waiting until they decide what their other branch is called MOS or your rate would be, and you're kind of just doing whatever work they need around the unit until you decide and your time is ready to go to your training. But my time as a non-rate was good. I thought so. I went there and just did the basic qualifications, what I needed to do. It's pretty easy, and I thought it was good, man. Yeah.
What do you mean by MOS and rate? What do you mean by that?
Like your I guess your job, whatever you're
trained to do.
Yeah, trained to do. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So the Coast Guard, you join untrained, unskilled, and you have to put your name on a list to go I guess, get training in your specific job, but you have that choice.
Yeah.
One of the few branches I think where you kind of have a choice.
Yeah.
What did you decide upon for your rate?
I decided to go OS. In the beginning, it was kind of funny because I was supposed to go YN. I wanted to go YN.
What is OS and YN?
OS is operations specialist. We do search and rescue, mainly search and rescue coordination. We also do vessel traffic, and then basically search and rescue coordination.
What is YN?
YNs are yeomans, so they do a lot of administrative work.
Think like HR, human resource.
Yeah, basically.
And so you were deciding upon those two. What made you lean one way and the other?
Man, I actually wanted to be YN first because when I went to Cape May, I had for some reason I had a lot of issues with like getting paid to my family and stuff like that, which was I needed to obviously. So there was a YN there. I forget her name, but she was awesome, dude. She took care of me, and being in boot camp, already being in a stressful situation, with that other layer of stress added on top of it, of my family needing assistance too. She was like, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I got you," And I was like, "Wow, she really helped me out." And I kind of and then 2 of my 3 company commanders were YNs, and when you're there, you kind of like, you hate them, but you grow to love them. You're like, dang, I aspire to be like this person. So I thought they were awesome. And it made me want to be a YN because I think that if you work really hard as a YN, you can really help people who really need it. You know what I mean? So I was like, I want to help people, bro. And so I was like, I'll be a YN. I didn't really know anything about it, but then I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But then when I went to my station, all the guys there, the boatswain's mates, the machinery technicians, getting underway, like on the boat, doing all the stuff, and then I'm a real physical person, so I kind of like that too. I was like, maybe I'll do this. But then my boy, his name is Masato Nakajima, he's an OS also. I'll talk to him all the time, and he's like, "Hey Prim, let's go OS." I was like, "What's OS, dude?" He's like, "Oh, these guys they kick back in the command center and we just do SAR, search and rescue." I was like, "Oh, what's that?" He's like, so we just did research and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, let's go together." I was like, "All right, shoot, yeah, let's do it." So that took me to go OS.
Explain search and rescue to me. What is that?
Search and rescue, I mean, I don't know, it's just when people are in distress, the coordination of getting them the assistance they need, basically. Yeah. Whether you're on the actual vessel that helps them out, or you're behind the scenes doing the coordination. Yeah, it's just, I guess, the whole system of getting them assistance.
So meaning what? We have mariners who are out at sea, or wherever it may be in the ocean. And like you said, they get distressed, whether engine failure, mechanical failure on their boat, they need assistance. Mm-hmm. If no one, CTO or the local agency can help, Coast Guard will get involved. And so that's what we call search and rescue. Gotcha that. And so that's what a lot of the OSs do, correct? Yeah,
coordination,
You've been an OS for how long now? An operations specialist?
4 years.
What's your opinion on the OS rate?
It's pretty good. This is my first rated, so this is my first time being an OS in my station. But I mean, it's pretty good so far.
So real quick. You're a non-rate in the Push, Washington. Mm-hmm. You go to A school, which is our training. Talk to me about A school.
So I got my orders to go to Petaluma, arrived there, and my school at that time was 13 weeks, so just a little over 3 months. Basically what they do there is they teach you radio etiquette, how to use ComSec material, just basically all the stuff about search and rescue, communications, all stuff like that. And then you get into the actual labs, the laboratories they call it, and you do just radio drills, because when you first start being an OS, you're just on the radio a lot. And they're basically just burning hell down on the radios, and you just got to respond and be able to kind of handle that stress of people yelling on the radio, saying, "Oh, I'm dying," all this shit. It's pretty over the top, but you know, they want to really put that pressure on you to make sure you're going to be able to handle it. That's basically what it is for 12 weeks, you know, just running those drills. So by the time you get to the real world, hopefully if that Mayday call comes in, you're not going to really, you know, hesitate. Yeah. But it's a good experience, man. You know, met some cool people, had a lot of fun. I love Petaluma. It was an awesome place to be at the time. I forget when, later in A school, they come out with this list, right? And everybody's always waiting for the list, like, oh, what billets are they going to give us to shop? And the list came out. It was a pretty solid list, but it's kind of weird because there was 16 of us in my A school class, and for some reason, everybody wanted to go to a boat, right? Like, they're all talking about, like, everybody wants to go to a boat, and they put like 2 or 3. I think it was 2. And everybody's like, I'm putting that number 1. So I was like, dude, fuck, should I put this number 1 too? Sounds cool, but fuck, I don't want to be away from my family. So I ended up putting Sector Del Bay, which is New Jersey, as my number 1. And me and the wife talked about it, right? There was nothing really that great on the list, but me and her were like, hey, let's just go somewhere new, try it out. And I knew one of my boys in New Jersey, super cool guy. And I was like, hey, how's Jersey? He's like, oh, it's awesome. Come down, we'll take care of you. And he trained too. I was like, he's a black belt. He's like, come train in my academy. You know, my wife knows his wife. He has a daughter, same age as my daughter, so it would have been perfect. I was like, let's go there. And everybody in my class, nobody was choosing New Jersey. We kind of talk amongst each other. So I was like, I guess we'll go there. And then, so we submit our picks. A few days later, we're getting back information from the detailer saying, oh, you're going here. And it's kind of fun because everyone's like, oh, I'm going here. It's on the same day. Everybody's like, oh, I'm going here. We're writing a list, right? Everybody's name gets on the list. And Del Bay was taken from one of my boys. I was like, oh, fuck, man, where am I going to go now? Everybody's writing this. Everybody got their billets except for me. I was like, what the fuck? How come I'm not getting it? And then my instructors called me out and said, hey, Meno, we got to talk to you. So they brought me into the Master Chief's office. And he's like, man, you know, unfortunately, we weren't able to put you in your billet. And I was like, what happened? He goes, oh, I don't know. Even though, I guess, in the backgrounds, they had like these kind of like rankings in students. I don't know if they had that for IS. But they said, yeah, I don't know what happened. You're definitely one of the top students, you know, top 3 at least. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? So he goes, oh, I don't know, we got to talk to the detailer right now. He's waiting for us to call. So he calls the detailer, and the detailer was like, well, let me rewind a little bit. So I put in the pics, and then my wife, she was on Guam waiting while I was at A school. And I told her the pics. We said, okay, let's go Del Bay. She ends up going out to like some Jamal village here, and she runs into one of her old friends who happens to be married to a coastie who's stationed here. And she's like, oh, your husband's in the Coast Guard? What rate is he? And my wife goes, oh no, he's in A school. Yeah, we're trying to come here, but it's not on the list. So then the husband, who's in 03, he's a lieutenant here on Guam. He goes, oh, you guys are trying to come here? Let me see what I can do. So he talks to, I guess, the command center chief here at the time, and they start to pull some strings. I didn't really put too much into it. And I actually talked to him over email. He's like, hey, Meno, let me know your class dates, all this stuff. We'd love to see if we can get you to Guam. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. He's not going to really do anything for me. Kind of left it at that. Then come back to that day in the Master Chief's office. We talked to the detailer, and the detailer's like, man, you know, I'm sorry we weren't able to give you the billet you want, but we do have 2 other billets available. So let me know what you want, and we'll send you there. I was like, okay, shoot, I guess, yeah, what is it? And he goes, oh, we have Sector Guam, and Sector Guam. I was like, oh, what the heck, dude? And I remember they're all looking at me. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll go to Guam. I was undercover stoked, right? But yeah, that's how it happened.
Wait, so you only have one option essentially, Sector Guam and Sector Guam?
Yeah, that's what he told me. I don't know who did it or whatever. I think it was a compilation of everybody, but I was like, whoa, this is sick, dude. Like,
so you wanted to come back to Guam?
Yeah. But you know, it wasn't an option because it wasn't part of the picks. And then actually, it was kind of cool because I went back and everyone's like, dude, what happened? Because you know when you get pulled into the master chief's office, it's kind of like, oh shit, what's gonna happen to him? Like, dude, what happened, bro? I was like, I'm going to Guam. And all my classmates were happy for me because they knew I was from Guam. But yeah, they're like, how the fuck? You're the only guy to just get a billet that's not on the list.
So what was it like coming back to Guam? What was that like for you?
It was good. It was in a different capacity, right? Because I never been here, obviously active duty, and then been, but it was good. Yeah, coming back to Guam is nice because now I get to do this job, and now that I've been in this job a little more, I'm actually helping people in the area where I grew up, you know, so it's definitely nice.
Would you do anything differently?
I don't know, you know, I think that to me, I'm a big person of like everything happens for a reason, so I don't think so, because if I didn't go OS, I probably wouldn't have come back to Guam, you know, I wouldn't have bought my house, wouldn't have my kids, so probably not. I mean, things could be worse, you know. Yeah, I don't think so.
I understand.
Like I said, I'm a big believer of that, man. Things happen for a reason. You make choices because of certain reasons. Yeah, it is what it is.
Are you, what's your opinion on joining the military? How do you feel about that?
I think, man, it was good, bro. You know, in life, there's definitely peaks and valleys for anything. If I was to stay in San Diego and continue doing that, maybe I would have gone really high up. I would have made a lot of money, been comfortable. Maybe I would have made no money. But I think it was a good stepping stone for me, bro. You know, or maybe a whole career I could make out of it. I definitely could. But yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. It's afforded me a lot of things in my family, a lot of benefit, you know. Yeah, good stuff, dude. And I think I'm gonna encourage my kids to join because, man, you know, for that little time that you sacrifice, you get a lot of return, I think.
What are some lessons that you've learned from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you're able to translate to your everyday life?
I think that in this aspect, right, Jiu-Jitsu in life, right, like Jiu-Jitsu, sometimes you know what to do in certain situations, like life, right? And then sometimes you don't, same thing. Sometimes you're like completely, let's say you're so good, you're dominating somebody, you're killing it in life, you're just making money, making all the right choices, everything seems to be on the up. And then sometimes you're like, shit, I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, sometimes you gotta defend a little bit, same thing in life. Sometimes you gotta backpedal, you know. Sometimes you gotta scramble. I think that's exact same way, you know, in life.
Before we close this out, man, anything you want to say?
No, not really, you know. Big shout out to the Two Left Feet podcast. It's been a long time, man, trying to get me on this podcast. I heard about it since you got to Guam, and always wanted to get on here. Thanks for having me, and glad we were able to get this done days before you leave.
Right, man.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right, shoot.
Shoot.